No problem. So, first let me thank Brian again for blessing us with this opportunity to have this event for us again. Because, you're a big name for us, and you did a great thing for us by visiting us last year, and we're very, very happy to have you here again this year. Got to say, this is a big project that when I last spoke to you about, you said, and I quote, "It will never see print." And now we're doing this, promotion for it. So what happened? Why?
Good way to start.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm a filthy liar, I guess. We had no plans to, specifically because we wanted to drag people like us who are not computer savvy at all onto the internet, and it seemed like a new way to distribute comics to the world. But yeah, we jokingly were talking with Robert Kirkman, who was like, please, what will it take for Image to publish this? Because he said there are a lot of people who will never read digital comics. They want something they can hold. And we said, if you give us Walking Dead, we will give you Private Eye. And he was like, sold. So yeah, he called our bluff. So we're going to be doing a Walking Dead story that'll only be a digital comic on panelsyndicate.com. In exchange, they got the print rights to this finally.
So, I don't know if anybody's read Private Eye online first. Has anybody read it online first? Okay. Because I don't want to spoil too much.
Yeah.
But there's a key element to the Private Eye towards the ending of it. I can't give too much away because now it's seeing print. It just came out Wednesday. More people will start reading it now. Will there be a certain character making its return in some sense for the Walking Dead special that you'll have on the House Syndicate?
Yeah, no, our Walking Dead special is totally separate from the Private Eye universe.
So it's a separate universe.
Yeah,
okay.
but it's canonical to the Walking Dead universe. So it counts, and we're going to be revealing something big, I guess we can say, in our Walking Dead story that we didn't think Kirkman would let us.
So you're the first writer as far as comics is concerned, because he does this for a show. He has plenty of people writing.
Yeah.
This is going to be canonical.
Yeah.
For the first time in the comic, online. So then it has to draw people towards the site.
That was our hope.
That's wow.
And so that's sort of, when we said people will call us liars for years to come, that we're doing it in print, but the trade-off is we get all these people who love not just the Walking Dead comic, but the show, who will come to comics, and hopefully from comics then come buy the print version at your store, and it works out for everyone. We hope.
But let's backtrack a bit though. I wanted to know how this all began, because you guys worked together prior to this with Doctor Strange years ago, and then you guys didn't work that much together afterwards. So what happened? How did this come about?
Well, we worked together before that. You tell where we.
First time we worked together was 16 years ago, 1999. We were both starting, and we did a very short story for a comic book called Gotham Secret Files, which was part of the Batman family of books. And that worked out fine with us, even though, they put a lot of captions. Pink captions. But, it turns out we were neighbors at the time. We were literally, Brian lived one street above where we were living. So he came by every once in a while. Not too much because it was difficult to get out of the house.
We're shut-ins.
Well, you have to be shut. Right, you have to be shut in to do this type of work. That's true.
I didn't enjoy drawing too much, so I tried to get into Tom just to stop drawing for a while, and so that worked out well. And we remained friends and in touch for years, and we tried to work together for a while until we got to do the Doctor Strange.
But this came about where I believe it was your decision to make this type of business jump towards keeping it digital. Why do it only digital and not through, say, Comixology or anything like that? Why create Panel Syndicate?
Well, Comixology is a different model, business model, I think, than the one that we were proposing. So it wouldn't make much sense to, try to sell a new business model and at the same time staying with something that's completely different.
So have they ever approached you guys about making it available towards their platform instead of just...
Sure.
Yeah.
And they're a fine company, you know, they sell a lot of my other books, but I think Marcos's idea was that comics used to be a very cheap medium for everyone. That it used to be the kind of thing that if you had a quarter, you could go in and get 5 different books. And comics have become a really expensive medium for a sort of dwindling mass of people. And he's like, even though we don't understand the internet because we're old, and we can sort of force ourselves to use the internet to make comics what it used to be, which if you had no money, you could read The Private Eye today, just because we put it in print in this pretty hardcover version. We didn't take it offline, that it's still available right now. So yeah, I thought it was a terrible idea, I guess. Did you think it was a terrible idea when you first heard about it?
I loved it.
She's as crazy as I am.
You're both, yeah, you're nuts.
Well, he thought it was. He said he thought it was. Yeah, you thought it was a terrible idea, but he went for it. So that's even, I think, more commendable on your part.
So why did you give in, Brian? I mean, you thought it was a terrible idea, but then you created like a 10-part opus.
Well, I'm really lazy, but I always count on that a certain amount of things will fail. So I thought for here, I was like, well, I've got a really great first issue, but it will fail so badly, so quickly that I'll never have to write any more of it. So, but I was wrong.
I noticed that's a running theme in a lot of projects you work on,
Yep.
and yet they turn into hits. So is that the way you go about your business nowadays?
Yeah, it's a nightmare. So yeah, when things work, so I keep waiting for something to go wrong, but we'll see.
So how did the idea come up for the concept of story? Because it's a very different concept. You have to have some level of suspension of disbelief going into the thought of it's 100 years in the future, give or take. You don't give an exact number of the circa of the era for it, but roughly speaking, it's about 100 years in the future, and the internet's gone. And yet the federal authorities is the press. How did you come up with that concept, though?
I guess I was just, I think we were both interested in privacy since we weren't on Facebook or Twitter, and we're both kind of shut-ins who like to stay inside. So this idea of people sort of willfully giving up their privacy and how sort of every generation rebels against the sort of previous generation. So thinking about what my kids might be like, and if I think that Facebook and Twitter are interesting, they'll think it's boring and want sort of the opposite of it. So yeah, we imagine this future where privacy was so valued but so hard to come by that everyone would have a secret identity in the future. You wouldn't leave without a disguise. And that seemed like a crazy fairy tale, I guess we described it, but that was before Edward Snowden, and it was before the sort of Ashley Madison leak, and it was before like my friends who work at Sony, like their lives all changed by the Sony leak, and it felt like every issue that would come out, there would be another thing that this looked less like a fable and more like kind of something that might be a conceivable future.
I mean, you can say that. I mean, you literally, Marcos, you drew a tombstone of Madonna, and her death was in less than 2 years from now.
It's gone. Sorry for her. I like her, but no future.
I mean, did you guys decide to make sure you add some real world elements to it to make it grounded, while still, in a sense, I'm trying to create the word, but prognosticating, I guess, the idea of what can actually happen if the internet ceased to exist?
Well, I think the fact of grounding the story, it was vital to the reader, being identifying with many of the elements. I mean, that's kind of Gramps is one of the key elements of the story, because it's basically us in the future. So all the different elements that help ground the reader, create an attachment between that future and our reality are indispensable, I guess. But I want to say that all this crazy idea was Brian's. I mean, when he called me on the phone and he told me about it, I was like, what? Disguises? I mean, what? I mean, like a disguise party? I was thinking, is this like carnival, or is this? So it took a while for me to, and for some months, because between the time that he told me the story, I was still working on Daredevil. So I had time to think about it, and it finally came together in my mind what he was, trying to convey with the story, and came up with I realized that it was a fable. I was trying to think of something like more realistic, something that could happen. And it was like, at one point I realized it was the wrong approach to it, that I had to think of it as a fable, and then everything more or less came together visually.
Well, that's the thing I wanted to ask also visually. How did you come up with the designs for the take that you want to do for every single character having an alter ego, so to speak? I mean, because it almost seems like as we live our daily lives, we have an idea of how we want other people to perceive us. So characters are doing that in a sense with the way they actually dress with their masks. But you and Muntsa created like a design aspect to it where it's very colorful, very, very...
Well, many of the disguises came from Brian's suggestions and ideas on the main character.
Even the BDSM qualities to it too as well.
No, that's not this weird.
But let's say, I mean, PI, Brian had an idea for PI that I tweaked and turned into something slightly different, but it came from the original thing. Then all the different characters that appear in the book, it depends, on whatever. But I tried not to, very hard to make it kind of an evolution of fashion in a sense. So I looked at a lot of fashion designers, and which are very radical. Many of the things that they present don't usually make it to the real world. So a lot of ideas come from that, and they exist, and in the real world. So.
Can I ask just I never get to talk to Muntsa, so I'm just curious. The palette is there. If you get a chance to open it up, there's never been a comic that's looked like this before. So it's so beautiful and vibrant without being garish. So I'm curious. Did you guys fight about it at all? Because Marcos and I fight about stuff, so I'm curious.
Thank you. No, we didn't fight actually. Well, it's just funny because I never think of it as being like extremely vibrant or extreme. I just see the colors that way. I mean, like I never do it on purpose. Like I'm gonna do something very radical, very extreme colors. They just come out like this. Well, wall is actually very colorful. I mean, it's color everywhere. So to me, it's just shocking when they ask me. The colors are very strange.
But did you read the story first and then decided this was going to be the palette that you would use?
No, I never planned anything.
Because
I just go, I see the pages and...
Because I remember when I first read it, when it first came out online, and I noticed that it is a noir. It's a true to life mystery that, it dates back to like years ago, but yet it's done with a new twist to it. So mostly with noirs, you expect like darker tones and more hollowed out, shadowy effects and everything. But you decided to go full on vivid. So is it that the story still spoke to you in the sense that, this should be the color tone for this book, or is it that?
I don't think we never had like a proper talk about, we're gonna go this way. I just started coloring it, and it kind of...
We planned everything. What are you saying? Everything was carefully planned.
Everybody knows. We never plan anything.
Well, we've known each other so long. I think that's why we like
Actually,
working.
let's tell the truth now. How did this happen? Muntsa starts coloring.
Oh, okay.
And then she gives it to me, and then I put the lines around. And I give everything to Brian. And make something out of it.
That's true.
But the reason, because I didn't want to bring it up now, but you guys, on the cusp of putting out the Private Eye in print, you already started putting out more stuff for Panel Syndicate starting this past Wednesday. You guys put out The Barrier, which is a totally different take on what you're doing. It's a sci-fi, but it doesn't actually, I don't know if anybody's seen it or read it already. You have, good. So you probably noticed that it doesn't start off like a sci-fi. I didn't expect it to be a sci-fi. I mean, there's certain things that happen in the beginning that makes you think, okay, something weird's going to happen. And you start to think maybe it's supernatural, but then the end just pulls you right through to believe that this is a sci-fi. Your color palette on that is much different than this. There's a lot of, again, muted tones, gradation effects, a lot of stuff that's going on there. So that's why I had to ask, did you read the storyline beforehand and then decide this is going to be your tone, right? And that this seems to be like methodical in a sense. So I'm not saying that there's no method to your madness at all, but was it a choice to do it differently this time, or?
She says that she doesn't read it, but we talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, we talk. I mean, we're a couple. Okay.
They are married. If
So we share. We share.
Marcos and I are a couple.
So we talk about it a lot, and we do want this to look a little bit different,
Right.
especially at the beginning.
I think it's suitable to the story. It's just 'cause
Yeah.
the thing that struck me about Private Eye is that I didn't expect it to be so bright.
Right.
And it made me think from starting to read it that okay, there's a bright future ahead of us, and then that something went wrong. It was things went wrong with privacy, things went wrong with information being stored, but yet the future seemed to be bright. But I guess it made us, for lack of a better term, it made us think that it was bright, but it was hidden from us, the things that were underlying all that. So that's why I wanted to know if there was an intention to actually mask the idea that there's a darker thing going on here while it seems very bright and beautiful.
I think the first pages kind of make
Set the tone for it.
set the tone for the rest, and
Right.
it was like a night scene. So we thought a lot about neon light, like Times Square kind of
Right.
scene. That kind of set the
Also-
tone that it was right. And
We discussed a lot about the fact that this was not a
Dystopia. That we were, and a lot of people talk about Private Eye, and they describe it as a dystopian future.
Right.
And it's not really dystopian.
I hate email, so the future or thinking that there could be a future free of email that sounds fantastic to me, but
You know everything, Brian.
it's true. But I think the three of us I think our own privacy. We like to work alone, so I think that's why we don't have a lot of, I think, initial talk about, I want it to look this way or feel this way. I think we're just very intuitive. We give each other a lot of space, but we like the end result of collaborating with each other. So yeah, it's the most intuitive, I guess, of any comic I've ever worked on that we like. I hope I like what you guys do. So
Well, how many parts is the barrier going to be? I mean, Private Eye was 10 parts, so that's,
yeah, just half. It's 5 to this, so half as long. So a smaller commitment, but still pay what you want. So panelsyndicate.com.
Yeah, but you also told me the first issue was going to be, we're going to make like 20-page comic.
it was 52 pages.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
He is a filthy liar.
it's the best because it doesn't cost anymore for it to be 53 pages. It doesn't take
That
much
is true.
longer to write 53. It makes life miserable for these two.
It's a very deep, quick read, though. Actually, it's not like you feel like you're taking too long to read anything. It's too much of an investment. So I felt it was very entertaining. Not to kiss any butt or anything like that. So it made me wonder, like, per each chapter, do you guys decide on how many pages you choose to do it? I mean, will the second chapter decide?
Kind of, yeah. It's like Netflix shows now where you're no longer defined by has to be 44 minutes or whatever. That we just let the story dictate. So I try not to make life too terrible for these two, but yeah, it's whatever. The Private Eye was exactly as long as we need it to be, and usually my comics career has always been frustrating. Even when we were doing, Doctor Strange together or whatever, like, God, if only I had 3 more pages, this would be perfect. But you've got to cram it in, and you would never know if there's going to be a Butterfinger ad is going to come in the middle of a dramatic scene. So it's like, it's really nice to have that amount of control. And I think we never wanted to do a motion comic that had sort of the bells and whistles, but I think we learned to sort of tell comics in this different format that would look great on a screen, but hopefully look nice in a physical book as
Well,
well.
speaking of formats too, like, I was slightly surprised that in the print format it would be in this format, this shape. But when you read it online, it does actually follow that. Was this planned to make sure that it's kept true to that format, or?
What were you thinking?
Yeah, what were you thinking? Yeah.
Well, the format was planned for computer screens because we were making a digital comic.
Right.
So to me, it made no sense to have a regular comic book because I hated reading comic books on the screen and having to scroll down. It made no sense to me.
So which do you prefer, this or the standard version that you would get in print?
it's different. I mean, with Barrier, I think it reads much better in the private eye. I think we've been able to, understand better the way, the transitions work between pages, the information, the amount of information that we're giving with each page. So I actually think that the Barrier reads much better than the private eye in that sense.
Will that ever see print? The Barrier. This is your chance to lie or...
Exactly. Now we look like liars if we say no.
Let's just say that our exact words were, there are no plans to ever come out in print. And that was the case until there were plans, I guess.
Right.
That's the best.
I guess what we realized is there's it turns out there are two totally different audiences. That I think there are some people who discovered comics digitally, and those people love it. But I think for those of us who grew up on print, we'll probably always love print. So as a reader, I like print, but the business model of knowing that digitally we can release a story the same day in Honduras and Russia and the United States.
Right.
That's exciting to us. So I like getting to do both. I'm glad we have the option.
So
I think it's more about the distribution rather than anything else.
right.
The fact that we were able to reach a much wider audience, potentially.
Does it color-wise? Does it look better
Yeah,
on screen or on page?
I'm very happy with
The
the
print
print. The color is really good.
Yeah, I didn't see
Thank
much of a distinction between the two though. But obviously
Yeah.
you put in a lot of time to make sure that it was
Yeah, I was scared because but actually it was not.
But see, after reading the Barrier, I wonder if that can actually match. If it was to be planned for print, as Marco said. Because honestly, like it's very vivid and I love the tonality that you use on that one. Do you prefer print over digital or do you prefer digital over print, that being said?
No, it doesn't matter to me at all. When I color, I don't think of it as if it's going to go green. Like when I work for Marvel, I just don't think of it in terms of how the paper is going to change the color. I try to go with the colors I like.
Have you ever been disappointed from what's in?
No, actually, no.
I think you're the first colorist I've ever asked who's never been disappointed.
No, it's always good because I also color, I've been coloring the She-Hulk for Marvel, and the colors are pretty similar. I mean, you know that it's never going to be exactly like green, that's impossible. But
Right, yeah.
that's true.
I love their complete opposite. One's just like, anything's fine. Marcos made it. Everyone at Image's life hell for months, like sending specific paper to him to see how it would hold. So yeah, they're very different.
I'm sure Eric Stevenson was saying like, should we print this or not? But like, last time I saw you was actually in France actually, and you were promoting Saga in France. Do you see this being available in many languages now? Because digitally, it's still only in English. But reading the Barrier, and I gotta say, you're making me learn Spanish. There's several pages in the Barrier where there's no keywords or keynotes or anything like that, no legends. You have to actually put in Google Translate to some effect to learn what's going on in some of those pages. I mean, there's several pages that are strictly in Spanish, and there's no typical asterisk spoken in Spanish. It's in Spanish.
Yes, I read Clockwork Orange in high school, and it was so hard for me to figure out the sort of future dialect. And it wasn't until later that I learned that the kid who had my copy previously had ripped out the glossary in the back that had. So
this is revenge.
Yeah, and so but it's kind of like I did it, and like I figured it out through context, and it was so rewarding. So similarly, I think we wanted to do something where it was like, yeah, I don't speak a word of Spanish. It was punishing for me too, but I guess we sort of traveled for a while together, and like we were in Portugal together, and I feel like such an ugly American, but I love their artwork. I would see translations of The Private Eye or whatever, and you could follow it. Their art is so clear. So we wanted it to hopefully feel like those old Alan Moore Swamp Thing issues where you go to like an alien planet and like you can follow it even if you don't speak the language. We hope so. Your frustration is part of the story.
Are we to expect more pages? in the Bay Area that's strictly in Spanish?
I think there will be all sorts of languages that might start showing up that, yeah, will frustrate everyone, yeah.
Oh yeah, I almost spoiled it, so I won't say too much. Are you happy with what's come out though, Brian? Are you, you know, is this something where you can see this as a part of the business model as far as doing this?
I mean, it's too early to say, right? We'll see. It depends on how many people show up tonight at this one signing. And if we move all of these copies, then it was
Do not worry about that.
No, but I hope it's. I think the two will always work hand in hand. And I think comics are very different from music. Where music sort of wiped out a whole sort of kind of store. That didn't really happen with comics. That the good stores seem to hold on. That people like getting comics physically, and digitally just brings people hopefully here. So I hope the two will work together.
So for all three of you, is this something you're going to continue doing? I mean, because you do a lot of work for Marvel and, you know, doing color work as well. But for both of you, all three of you actually, you're doing this somewhat on the side, so to speak. Did you guys like basically work out all the page work and everything well beforehand before posting everything online, or is this this wasn't this?
Well, I work exclusively for Panel Syndicate, so that's the only work I do. And sometimes people ask me, like, what else are you doing? And I was like, I don't have time to do anything else. I mean, I'm very slow, so I have to concentrate. It's not like I'm drawing Spider-Man with, you know, with my right hand and the private eye with my left hand, even though it might look like the right with my left hand at once. But no.
Well done,
So it's no. I'm focusing completely on this because I only have time.
What about you, Muntsa? Is this going to be where you're leading towards with your career, just to do like this?
This is basically like my main assignment. And then because I just do little work for, basically work for Javier Pulido and Javier Rodriguez. They are both artists that I really like, and they're
and those
friends.
two do a lot of work too, though. On this, I mean, either they're doing Valiant or they're doing Marvel, give or take sometimes. So, is it fun working?
So far, yeah, it's very different. But this one is like it's ours. It feels different when it's something so personal. We love the project so much. I mean, we love the comic, but we also love like Panel Syndicate, the project. So.
But do you both ever say, Brian, what are you writing here? What are you doing to us right now? Do you ever get the moment where you?
All the time, yes.
What do you mean? No, I love his stories. We had so much fun with Private Eye, and I'm having to say so much fun with the first issue of Barry. I just loved it and I enjoyed it so much. It flew so well. I mean,
I don't enjoy anything.
But you can.
I hate drawing. I hate everything. But hey.
And if we can still enjoy that freedom,
I try to.
we would love to keep
I try
doing
to suck
it.
the life out of it. Like, everything's beautiful. I'm like,
No, because this is completely ours and it is totally free, as Brian said. It has as many pages as we need. It's out when it's done, so if we need a few more days, we take it and we talk about it, and it's just us, it's our thing.
So we can expect
it's very, very small.
So we could expect more work from all three of you with Panel Syndicate even after the marathon.
Well, if people keep
that
coming.
depends on,
Yeah.
depends completely on the people. It's democracy.
You know, and we want to, it already, there's a new science fiction called Universe that's just up through panelsyndicate.com. So, yeah, we'd like to open it up to more people, but it's these guys, you know, I can write relatively fast, but barrier number one was months of their life that they're working for free. And we decided that we sort of felt we were lucky enough to be in positions in our careers where it didn't feel like Kickstarter was right, where we could ask people to sort of subsidize our income, but it's us, it's particularly these guys, gambling on, we'll work for free, and we hope that people will show up and pay us, even though they don't have to. It's pay what you want. And that's still what I can't believe. I thought people would show up for maybe the first issue, but they funded the whole thing, and then they want more. So, but yeah, people, once they stop showing up, we will stop doing it. But for right now,
I hope that doesn't happen.
Me too.
Me too, especially.
All right, because I gotta say for you, Brian, like I remember last time we spoke here, you said that you were really going to focus on any TV or film work. And then in the span of a year, you put out 4 different comics, so to speak.
Yeah.
How much more are you going to be putting out there?
This is enough.
This is enough, right?
Yeah, I know. I'm sleepy now. So I'm ready to
Because
start.
everything else you're doing is a hit right now so far. Paper Girl's a hit, East End of Guard is a hit, you know. So, you know, you're letting Fiona do a little more work on the side too, with her working on Archie for a little while. You know.
Letting, where it's very sensitive. It's like having sort of multiple families to be working on multiple books. Then I feel so close to everyone, but I'm also I'm cheating on them all. So yeah. It's and Marcos is the most sensitive about complimenting any other artist, even hearing Fiona's name. You can just see his blood boil for there. But
I can see that
as a
right
writer,
now.
I'm very lucky to get to work with
happening right now.
so many talented artists.
But the reason why I asked though is because is this something where, let's say you would do less, because you're most of your work right now is through Image and or Panel Syndicate.
Yeah.
Are we leaning towards more from Panel Syndicate and less with Image? Or because you like print, it will still be working with Image to some extent?
Just seems good right now. You know, I like doing a little something with Panel Syndicate and something with Image. I guess even when I broke into comics, it felt like you never wanted to be too in with Marvel or DC, that you always wanted to treat them like divorced parents. That you could sort of play one against the other and be like, well, Mom lets me do this. So I never want Image to feel, or for them to know how much I love them, so don't tell them that. So it's good to have
This
something on the
is being
side.
filmed, though,
Oh, damn, whoops. That was a tactical error on my part. But similarly, it's letting these guys know, too, I can just hit the road at any moment. But I like, this too's Image and Panel Syndicate are just 2 places where the creators get to truly own and create, and we can have our stuff never be movies or TV shows if we want it to be, and we never get notes about what kind of language or content we get. So it's amazing. I don't need anything else in my life.
So a couple more questions. So for Marcos and Muntsa, would you want to work with another writer for Panel Syndicate?
Please.
Somebody who doesn't write 52-page pilot.
Mark Millar, where is it?
Someone tweet that out.
Actually, it would probably be the wise thing to do, to divide our forces, to let them strangle each other. But I don't know. I'm used to working with Brian on stuff.
I dare any other writer to work with Marcos.
But we'll see. I mean, Brian obviously has lots of projects and things. Who knows
What about you, Muntsa? Like, would you like the idea of somebody else coming in to color somebody else's work for Panel Syndicate? That would, different artists, different sorry to ask, but
No.
no. See the loyalty.
I'm so used to work with people I really like, because I'm not a full-time colorist. I just pick a few gigs.
Right.
I usually work with friends and people and artists that I really like, but I don't see myself doing lots of work for people that I might not like.
So you
for
have
now,
so you have to keep giving them work then.
Oh, he gives me work.
Right. All right. So let's open the questions up to the floor. Anybody have any questions that they would like to ask her?
Hey. Remember me from last year?
Oh, hi, nice to see you again.
Yeah, I came here with my big mouth of my sisters.
Oh, yeah, nice to see you.
No, be nice to the sisters. It's Christmas time.
Tell her to be nice to me, and I'm Jewish.
On that,
I'm wondering, I love the diversity in Saga, and I'm wondering if you're going to include any LGBTQ diversity in your new comic, especially asexual or demisexual diversity.
I think in the first issue of Barrier, we touch upon how difficult it might be for members of that community, particularly the immigrant community. So if you speak Spanish in particular, I think you'll get more out of it. The first issue of Barrier.
It's like 10 pages of Spanish.
There's a lot, but You know, it's 52 pages,
Yeah.
so you'll get your money's worth no matter
Yeah.
what language you
It's free
speak.
if you want to.
Exactly.
20% of it is in Spanish, yes.
But yeah, I think in this new arc of Saga, you'll be meeting characters in particular. And I think Fiona Staples, that was something she was pushing for with this arc. So yeah, I think I'm lucky enough to work with diverse collaborators who push me in that direction. So yeah, definitely.
Can you speak any more on the Walking Dead project that you're doing? Are you guys writing, drawing, or is this going to be in color? Is it based on a particular character?
Well, it's gonna be black and white. So it's gonna stay on
Good job. But it's going
Thank
to
you,
be
Kirkman. Go ahead.
formatted like The Private Eye, so widescreen, black and white.
I don't know about the exact ratio yet. It might be more like Universe, which is more for iPads. I'm trying to figure that out yet, but it's definitely gonna be computer screen format.
What's the page count supposed to be? Can you spoil that?
Understand that?
Yeah, I think it's like 26, 20.
It's 25, but I'm thinking about adding a few pages at some point. We haven't
So
talked
as
about it.
always, yeah.
It's your
It'll
fault
be
now.
another 53 issue. But we can't say what it's about.
Right.
But it counts.
It
It matters.
Yeah. And is this supposed to be set at a particular date of release so that when we go into one issue of Walking Dead into streaming people into Spanish?
No, we wanted it to be the kind of thing that if you love The Walking Dead, you will get something out of it by reading this. If you've never read The Walking Dead, you will similarly, but one is not dependent on the other.
Kirkman's not allowed to print this at all.
I mean, I guess someday eventually he may want to,
okay.
but the intent is that it's going to come out. When it comes out, it's exclusive just to Panel Syndicate.
Right.
So and we're not trying to make it any kind of easy to print. We'll make it as hard as possible on him. Yeah, so it'll be out early next year.
And I have to ask you, like, is it difficult to wrap your mind around his characters to, bring them? I mean, I'm suspecting and assuming that his characters will be playing a part, of course.
We'll see. It's the first work for hire I've done in a really long time.
yeah.
So I told him I didn't want to step on his toes, and I wanted to sort of do something that. Well, I won't spoil it, but yeah, stay tuned.
Any other questions, guys? Yes.
Question for Brian. So in Saga, there's particular language that the horns are the wreaths, or
Yeah.
and it's kind of Latin, it's kind of Spanish. Who came up with that?
Yeah, it's. I think some people have broken the code to that language, but there's a secret behind it. That I guess it's that I always loved as a kid the idea of something like Klingon, like a fictional language. So I wanted to do all of the work to create my own fictional language for my book, and then I realized that I was very lazy and I was never going to do that. So I tried to find someone else who had already created it and hadn't copyrighted it, and I could steal it. And so yeah, you're on the right path though, I think, of guessing. But it's a running theme, I guess, because comics is this amazing medium where I've gotten to know people all over the world, and I'm a sheltered kid from the suburbs, and it's amazing, and I feel like that, but I also feel a lot of guilt that I only speak English, and all of my friends are bilingual. And I think about how much that sort of divides us as people. So it comes up in Saga, and it comes up in Paper Girls. Now I realize has its own wacky language, and Barrier is almost entirely about that. So now that I have it out of my system, it'll just be all the Queen's English from here on out. Picture books.
But I do remember you saying last time that you will not create any key for the language to be understood unless you figure it out on your own. Is this still going to happen? Like, you're not going to let anybody really?
Wait, why are people complaining so much about Spanish and they're not complaining about this?
I know, it's weird, yeah. You're right. Yeah, people are complaining more about the Spanish in our book than they are about the alien language. Yeah, there's probably something to that.
I mean, because I've still not figured out the alien language.
We're thinking of that. Maybe we'll do some decoder rings for $49.99.
To make up the cost,
yes.
right. I understand, I get that. So, as I asked before we started off to the signing, this is in English now. Will this be in French or anything? Because I just saw you in Angoulême earlier this year. Will you be making a trip to promote this one?
I have no idea. I mean,
And we actually online we put out at least the first couple of issues in a few different languages, and all of them.
well, you can find all of the Private Eye is in Spanish,
Right.
in Catalan,
Right.
and it's in Portuguese, the whole thing. So, and the first 3 issues in French,
Why not
So-
finish out the rest of them?
because I had
Remember
to
that
letter the
basic
whole thing.
part where, yeah.
People don't realize that, but at one point I was spending more time lettering than drawing.
Wow. Yeah.
So I decided, even Catalan I stopped for a while, and then I put it out afterwards, and Portuguese too. So French might happen at one point too, but right now I prefer to focus on just drawing.
You bring up a thing that you mentioned with the way you formatted the drawing, and as a geek I have to ask, so before we get to sign, I'm sorry guys, but was it easier to work in this format, doing a lot of wide, so to speak, widescreen panels, going from like, because it's like, every page is roughly speaking about 6 to 7 panels at most. For some of it's usually like about 3 panels, but yet there's a flow to it that's very easy to follow. Was it easier doing it this way than your standard 22-page gridded work for a comic or anything like that?
It was a challenge, I guess, at first, because we were both used to. Brian did the whole script thinking it was going to be a normal comic book.
Right. And
So-
then you changed it up, obviously.
And then we
Yeah.
but so yeah, that's why I was saying it took a while to kind of understand how the widescreen
Right.
format works in relation to the information
Right.
that you're trying to give the reader.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you think it works, but I do think that the Private Eye, it's
More of an experiment.
it doesn't work.
We're trying to sell that
It's
one.
really good.
Right, right.
Wait until you see how good it is.
That's why I used the term. I knew you were going to say experiment.
No, I don't like experiment because it wasn't. I mean, when I started it, I already kind of knew how it was. But obviously, there are things that you haven't really
Right,
got
tried
to
to-
work at.
Right.
And
Because you're doing some very different panel work for the barrier. Like a lot of, especially those pages where we see on different sides of the coin between Liddy and forgetting the other
Oscar,
Oscar,
yeah.
right? You know, we see like this one panel that's in between both of them that shows what they're doing on different sides of where they, of their experience.
It took, I mean,
Was that a collaboration between you two?
Yeah, it was.
your idea.
Well, it was almost 20 years of writing comics in the sort of portrait mode, I guess,
Right.
versus landscape mode,
Right.
and just always thinking about stacking them on top of each
Right.
other. And it took working 10 issues to sort of get those old lessons out of my system. And I think this is I'm so proud of the Private Eye, because you can see us sort of over the course of 10 issues start to evolve. And by the time we got to Barrier, we're like, oh, even though all we've done is basically Marcus took a regular comic page and just turned it on its side.
Right.
It's a totally different language of visual storytelling. And yeah, we sort of all got to learn it together.
Yeah, because I was going to say, Muntsa, from starting from page 1 of it, it's very much similar to the way you did the Private Eye, and then it starts to take a darker tone. Was that on purpose as well?
Yeah, that was on purpose. We didn't improvise that. That was planned for once. That was planned. Yeah.
So it's going to get even darker as it goes further out. 5 chapters in, as it
that's a fair
completes
bet.
itself. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We don't. I have no idea
Happy
what's coming.
audience? Yeah. Okay.
I have no idea, honestly. Do you?
No, making it up as I go
See?
too. I don't
So
know.
it's not even, so even though it's going to be 5 parts, it's not complete.
No, it's. I know what the.
Okay.
I know enough. I just don't tell these guys. I don't trust them at all. If I tell them too much, they start telling me, "Oh, don't do that. That sounds terrible." So I have to wait till it's too late, and they have to do what we've come up with.
Okay. So last question before we give it to the signing: what was the enjoyable thing that's come out of everything that's come with Panel Syndicate? Not just with Private Eye, not with just Universe, but even just with Barrier in itself. Like, what's been the most pleasurable thing that's come out of this overall? Hard question, I'm sorry.
From Panel Syndicate, you mean? From
Well,
the
in general,
whole
because
project?
this is like, in some way, even though it's not the newest thing that's ever occurred as a business model, but yet you guys have successfully done something different to where people are thinking to themselves, maybe I can try it this way, you know, because you're allowing people to pay what they wish for quality entertainment. You're not trying to sell people short. So what has been the pleasure of the return of this, whether it be monetary or even
To me,
yeah,
the most rewarding aspect of it is having people actually come to the website every day, every single day since we came out, and buy something that they could actually download for free. And you know, that kind of brings back a little bit of faith in humanity. Like, it's kind of, you know, it's really, I mean, it's an experience to see how it really works. If you trust people, you know, sometimes they won't kill you. They will actually, you know, do something. And that's, to me, that's the best and most rewarding aspect of it. And
The complicity.
yeah,
You get a different relationship with the. It just, you establish a different relationship with the readers. You know, there's a complicity between us. We need each other, so it's different. Just it's mutual. So I really like it. Even if you download it for free, you just read it and we need each other. It just.
So you guys don't get pissed if a lot of people show up with 0.00 as the profit margin from this.
well, we don't have their names.
Right.
They don't pay, I don't know who you are. If I knew who you were, I would track you down.
That's a New Yorker in you, Marcos. Yeah.
He's the filthy socialist. No, I think Marcos is like, he's talking tough, but he would rather have more people read the story. I think it's nice that we all have children and that we get to take care of them based on this book, but it's lovely that it's like the goal was originally, that comics would again be for the most people possible. So
Yeah, actually, the main reason to do The Walking Dead is the opportunity to, you know,
More readers.
widen
Right.
the audience even more, and perhaps be able to make this a viable business model for more people.
Right. Well, thank you guys so much for doing this with us.
coming out.
Sorry to answer so many questions. So we're going to open the floor to getting the book signed, and thank you guys for joining us for our last Kino series of the year for this. Thank you.